Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Roxanne with you again. And I want to just say a special thanks to all those new subscribers. All right. We really appreciate you. So please go ahead and like and share this info. We have great topics upcoming. So you might want to just kind of hit subscribe if you're viewing and you have not subscribed yet, or if you want to share with someone else. Please go ahead and do that. All right, so today I'm going to be speaking to you about love and relationships. And I want to talk specifically about red flags. What are the red flags of a relationship? Now, if you're on, you're driving down the road and there's some construction going on that road, and you see the construction worker holds up a red flag, what are you going to do? Um, it really means stop, right? It means stop. And in some cases, you might have to make a U turn. In some cases, and you might have to run. But guess what? It's a warning signal. A red flag is a warning signal that there's some potential threat. And in a relationship, these potential threats really warrant investigation. All right. So if you see these red flags, please stop, pay attention. There's some potential threat or harm. It can be perceived or it can be real. So that's why it's important that you have to take some time out and see what's going on. All right. And what are some possible threats that you think might be out there with the red flags? All right, there's some threats. First of all, in a relationship, you can see some red flags that are indicating an abusive individual. You don't want to get into a space with someone who abuses you. All right, it takes a lot of time to get through that, to really heal from that brokenness. So we want to make sure that we're actually being intentional as we pay close attention to these red flags. And another threat that it's pretty scary too, and for many persons, if they've ever experienced narcissism. No, and these are just some examples of threats. There are many others, but I'll just kind of touch on some of the key ones. And so, for a narcissistic person, these are individuals, they have really an exaggerated self image. And they tend to be very exploitive in relationships. They're very competitive. They have to be the ones to be seen. They're obsessed with image. And so they will really go to some great lengths just to make that happen, and they'll hurt other persons in that relationship with them. It could be an intimate relationship or it could be a friendship. These persons really display a lack of empathy, and you don't want to necessarily get into those relationships. Again, it can be very hurtful or humiliating to be in a relationship at the end of it all with a narcissistic person. They tend to be very arrogant and just self-seeking and self-serving. And they'll, just as I mentioned, they'll go to great extents. They are, they'll manipulate, they'll do a lot of lying, they'll do another tactic that's called gaslighting. And those are some things that, we want to be very, very careful about if we're entering into friendships or new relationships, and particularly for persons who are out there too, they're trying to date. So, these are some critical points. You have to pay attention to the red flags. All right. So, and another thing that, a potential threat, the red flag is also preventing us from entering into relationships where we have individuals who do gaslighting. Now, gaslighting is also, very, very difficult to really relate to if you have someone who does that in a relationship. So a gaslighter really, it's a form of manipulation again, and this person will cause you to actually question your belief. They'll also cause you to wonder whether or not you're mentally okay. You will, you're questioning your sanity as well in with a gaslighter, because there are some tactics that a gaslighter uses. One of the tactics that they use is, they'll try to minimize things that are important, very important issues. They might say things like, stop making a big deal out of this, and they'll do things like distractions. So they will, you're talking about a serious topic or it's your concern, and they will, they'll say, let's go walk the dog. They'll completely switch the topic. All right. And I'm not saying that if these things happen in the relationship, sometimes if it happens, we have to look at the consistency of some of these things going on in a relationship as well. So it's important to pay attention to that. Another thing that a gaslighter, and this can be a whole topic by itself, a gaslighter can also do things like they can sabotage a lot in the relationship. So they can actually hide important documents. They will do things to let someone else slip up. It's a form of manipulation. They want themselves to, they want the other person to look bad, and they want to look good. So they'll, hide documents perhaps in a relationship, so that, you will be looking for something important and you're running around. You'll miss important meetings and dates and deadlines because they're sabotaging you. So it's a serious issue, right? So, these are things we have to pay attention to. So the red flags are, it's no joke. When you see the red flags, it means slow down. I don't really want to talk about how long you've been waiting for a friendship or love or some connection. It's better to wait. It's better to step back. It's better to investigate, instead of running into some of these difficult issues as well. So, we want to be very mindful of that. So, and some other things that I want to mention too, because there are some red flags. Those are some of the threats that we mentioned that you want to avoid. But some of the other red flags that we want to take a minute to look at, you have things like, persons who are displaying anger issues. So it's not maybe far gone in your connection with them, and they're like ranting, they're raging for no apparent reason. This could be some sign of something that's going on that you're not seeing, that you don't know what's happening with that person. So it's important, that's also something to question, to see, like, is this, and you could look at what's going on in different settings as well. So you want to see how this person reacts outside of just your relationship with them. How are they responding to family members and other friendships? So that's important. Another red flag is someone who tries to hide their history of relationships. And so they'll avoid questions if you are just entering into that relationship with them, or you're in a relationship with that person, or a friendship for years, and it's like the history of the relationship, it's almost like a secret. No, that's a red flag. You have to be careful. It's important sometimes to observe, and I would encourage persons who are out there also dating. You could, you have to observe what's going on, like see how someone relates to their friendships, their friends group, their family members. It's always very important to see all of that, get some background details on that. Okay, so that's another red flag. A big red flag, and I know that this is something that maybe a lot of persons are aware of, is excessive lying. All right. So no one wants to be in a relationship with someone who, I didn't say that, when they really actually said that, or they're persistently and consistently, telling something that's not the truth. It's going to be difficult to be in that relationship. So, don't let desperation for friendships or love, cause you to ignore, that particular red flag, because they're gonna give you a hard time. So that's another one. Another red flag is also excessive jealousy. So you'll find persons who they don't want you to interact with other persons. They're feeling that they have to have, control over your time. They feel threatened when you're interacting with other persons. They're threatened by your success, your achievements. Those are clear signals. Those are clear red flags, because these could be signs of someone who wants to control you. All right, and they're not comfortable with you. They're self-serving. So those are things that you can't ignore. And it's good, again, you're going to observe, you're going to spend time to investigate to see if these are really red flags. All right, so that's important. And another red flag that is kind of one that we see a lot in relationships. You have persons who are very self-serving, right? So how do you know somebody's going to be selfish in a relationship? And this is why it's important to investigate, because again, you'll have persons who, when you meet them for the first time, of course they're going to put a great show on, and you're not going to see some of these things, obviously, at the beginning of the relationship. So it's important to just kind of spend some time to see what's going on. A self-serving person, they're, obviously very, selfish rather, and it's just all about them. So they will start making plans, for example, that's just accommodating them. You'll not see them saying things that they'll talk a lot about I as opposed to us. They say a lot of I's as opposed to we. They're doing things on their own. They don't spend any quality time to invest in you. So it's very important for you to, pay some close attention to some of those red flags. All right. So those are some of the red flags that that are definitely the very important ones that I want you to start really spending some time and paying great attention to, and ensuring that you're practicing doing that, because you don't want to get into a bad situation in terms of your relationships. And I want to end with an affirmation. And this one is, I'm worthy of happiness. I'm worthy of happiness. All right. So I want you to say that, especially when you think about your friendships and your relationships. I want you to tell yourself that you're worthy of happiness, and keep doing what you're doing to be the best version of yourself, and embracing yourself, your true self, and remind yourself, I'm worthy of happiness. All right. So you do have a great day, and I hope that you did learn something from this. See you next time.